Prue. Right, we have a small technical hitch, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. I do not have my computer with me because I took it outside and I got distracted by the prawns and I thought I'll go back and have another plate of those, honestly, and I left my computer outside. So Prue's just gone to get it because Prue's far more organised than I am. So you've got a big whack of prawns there too, haven't you? Ah, you're saying to yourself, and Suman just said to me, are we having drinks today after this party here? I said, no. I said, for God's sakes, go outside, get as much food as you can, bring it back in here. You should all get as much food as you can, sit at the tables and eat your way through, and then just roll back to your hotel rooms or wherever it is that you're living afterwards. That would be my suggestion. Have you had a gander at the surf outside today? Yeah, it's huge. I mean, I love you all, but I was feeling slightly ripped off. I mean, if I'd made better investments on day one, if I'd invested maybe in Austral when we were in Sydney, I would have had enough money that I didn't have to be in here today. I could have been out there having a surf. That would have been nice, but it's always luck of the draw. You never know what you're going to get. Right. So in my hand, I have got some of the little raffle tickets that you are all given. Does anyone still have a raffle ticket in their one of these? It was at the back of these. If you do, please get it out, pop your name on it. I can't believe you people have gone through so many pens either in the last 2 days. I had the staff from here at the Marriott come and say, what are those people doing with the pens in there? Are they eating them? Thank you very much, Prue. I've already told them you were far more organised than me. So that's why they took the bowl away with the pens. There we go. But right, we've got some competitions to draw. Is Dr. Alexander still in the room? She is. All right, this is the first person that you love far more than me, not only because she's got a fantastic product that you want to invest in, but she's also got some, is this it up here? This is all it up here. All right, do you want to grab this microphone and tell everyone what it is?
Yes, so we've got a fabulous box of chocolates here from Cocoa Black, and Cocoa Black is a fancy chocolate shop. I don't know where it's based. I thought it was based in WA, but it's WA, yeah. So we've also got some liquor. I wasn't actually wanting to provide liquor, but it just matched up with the NTI color logo, the color scheme so well. So
oh, wait, can I have that? So I actually bought this last week. I went past in the IGA where we live. We've got 5 minutes up our sleeve, so I'm not waffling for no reason, but if you want to go grab some food, feel free. The IGA where I have has this amazing alcohol shop, liquor shop just behind it. And as I went through, I caught a sight of these. So it's 4 little bottles. One's a martini and a Grony old fashioned and a Manhattan. So when you come home at night, you think, you know what, today was just too much. Just take the one bottle out and make yourself up a drink and enjoy it. And then you close that up and you go like that. And you hide it from your husband at the back of the cupboard, and he never knew it was there because he's working fly in, fly out, and what he doesn't need to know doesn't know, except he would have seen the bill on the credit card, but that's a matter for another day. So very expensive, and both very delicious. So let's see who's won it.
Okay, that's it. I guess the...
No, we're being brutal. If you're not here, too bad. Ooh, sorry to those people. Absolutely annoyed. Clyde. Would it be Clyde?
Clyde.
Where is he? Is he really? I know, yeah. And it's all right.
Oh, how about we could split it?
We could split it. Oh yeah, well, let's split it with the next person. Okay, so Clyde can have the gin because he's a bit of an alcohol boy. So who'd like the chocolates? Brian Bevan, are you in the room? Oh! So Brian's got the chockies.
And
Clyde's got that. Oh, and what else have we got?
No, I'm just giving you one. Just chocolates.
Thank you.
Pleasure. Let's look at him as he walks in late. Have you an excuse for being late, Clive? Well, he said you're in the little person's room, but you've definitely got a cup of tea there. It's just that we were down the front here running this competition, and the person that won the competition had to be in the room. And his name was Clive. Do you want to come up here and grab this? You actually won. So this gentleman here has
Saved
stood
your
up for you.
bacon.
He stood up for you. So Neurotechnics had a raffle, Clyde, and you have won that.
Well done.
He's not very overwhelmed, is he, actually? Sit down, don't tell us that.
Speech.
Don't tell us that.
And someone left some glasses on my table. Do these belong to anyone here? No, okay.
Great. So thank you very much, Dr. Alexandra. That is fantastic. So enjoy that one, you peoples. All right. Now I best open this up and we should get underway. 10 minutes past 9. So what we do, Ezra, what do you have for me? This is a message for me. Chrissy. Okay, I can do that. Not a drama. I can do that indeed. Actually, you remind me, Ezra was asking me, there's this question about hearing aids. If anyone is coming to over to our function in October, the vertical events in Busselton, last year, we had presenting a mob called Hearance. Have you heard of them? Hearance, was it? And they've got a hearing aid. So the ones I've got in at the moment, thanks to a diving accident years ago, they're $9,500. Now they have got a product that does the same thing for $500. So look them up. They look very masculine. They're fantastic, but $500, they do exactly what my $9,500 ones do, which the government gives me back $500 for every 3 years. Those of you who also have hearing aids will understand the dilemma. And they've just been given some free passes in America too to do some wonderful things. They're a good investment. All right. I will get you the company code name for later, if that's all right. I'll look it up now for you. All right. So we have, for those of you who are looking to be here for Miramar Resources for that presentation, unfortunately, our presenter has just called in sick as well. So that presentation won't be being made this afternoon, so you can cut that one off your list. Hence, I've got this 10 minutes up my sleeve now. But I can see that Paul Bibby would like to come up on stage. He's been waiting very patiently. So Paul is the Managing Director and the CEO of Akora Resources. And decarbonising the iron and steel industry, it pretty much requires a shift to a very high-grade, high-purity iron ore feed materials. And Akora Resources is really well placed to deliver and provide that demand. Paul is their Managing Director. He's going to discuss what's next for Akora Resources since they announced their 195 million tonnes maiden resource, which is very impressive. Would you please make him welcome, everyone?
Sure. No, thank you for that. In the 18 months since Akora Resources listed, we've achieved a great deal. And as that knowledge has increased, we're now understanding we've got a premium grade iron product future for our company. We've also got the opportunity for resource expansions over and above what we've already achieved. And we're now starting the scoping studies to get a better idea of the capital and operating costs for our projects going forward. Top green button. I think we all know about the forward-looking statements. Very good. So Akora Resources is high-grade iron ore in Madagascar. And Madagascar is a country that really is starting to develop in terms of its mining operations and opportunities. Our main project is Beki Sopa in south-central Madagascar. We've chosen that over our other tenement areas because at outcrop, there's high-grade 66, 67% iron ore in that outcrop, as you can see in the top left-hand corner. Also in the weathered zone, we're seeing grades of above 60%. And in the trench here that crosses the strike, we're seeing grades of 66%. Beki Sopa is about 250 kilometres from the port of Toliara and 110 kilometres from Morombe, which is directly due west of Beki Sopa. We also have other tenements on the central east coast of Madagascar. And Tra Marina will be the next project area that we're likely to work on. It's only 16 kilometres from the coast, so from a capital point of view, a very attractive project, a classic banded iron formation. But for now, Becky Soper is our focus because of the high-grade material. And we're looking to potentially have an open pit operation, very low cost, direct ship ore operation, focusing on the high-grade outcrop and the weathered zone at Becky Soper. Starting on the right-hand side, you can see the magnetic anomaly. So one of the first things we did was we walked the ground, some 400 kilometres, 50 metres apart. And from that, we achieved or developed this very strong magnetic anomaly, 6 kilometres long north to south. And within that, we've chosen 3 drilling grids, which are the green dots you can see there quite clearly, I hope, within that magnetic anomaly. The drilling has been very successful. We've drilled 63 holes for some 6,200 metres, so relatively shallow drilling. But this has confirmed that the iron mineralisation continues below the high-grade outcrop, which was very encouraging, to depths of 300 metres down dip, so quite extensive, and along and the full 6 kilometres of the strike length. And we're seeing thicknesses of that iron formation of some 50 to 170 metres, so quite a significant iron ore body. The results are indicating a significant ore body, significant resource, plenty of upside as we've only drilled 30% of that 6 kilometre strike, and there are more tenements in the local area yet to be explored. This is a cross-section in the northern part of the strike. What you see there is a 67 metre wide iron formation from surface down 300 metres down dip. A number of the holes there have intersected some good grades. At surface, we're seeing grades of 64 and 64.5% iron. And we believe with selective mining practices, that will potentially be a high-grade, direct ship, lump and fines iron ore product. Well and truly suitable for an open pit operation. And again, we've only drilled to 300 metres down dip, but you'd have to imagine that continues for quite a long way, well below 300 metres. In the south, we're seeing the ore body is flattening out, so quite steep, flatter, and then quite flat in the south. And where it intercepts the surface, we're seeing high grades. Grades as high as 65.5%, 63, and 60%. So again, high-grade iron ore. And the iron ore price that you see and read about in the news, that benchmark grade is 62%. So these are grades above that for which you achieve quite a considerable premium in your price. So high grade at surface, suitable for DSO, flat-lying formation, and ideal stripping ratio, very, very low stripping ratio, so an attractive low-cost mining operation. In parallel with the drilling, we also did some product grade tests to see what the products could be for the market. And we've took 4 composites down to about 37 metres deep from the drill core, 1 in the north centre and 2 in the south. And what we see there is at a relatively coarse crushing size of 2 millimetres, material of grades of 30–40% are upgrading to 64%. So again, a premium iron ore fines product, so the 64.3. And over the last 12 months in my reading and discussions with others, I'm starting to understand the shift for decarbonisation of the iron and steel industry. And they are going to need plus 67% iron to achieve that decarbonisation. So we did some trials at 75 microns. It's a fine size for iron ore, but compared to processes in place today, whether they're in Canada or elsewhere in the world, they're grinding to 15 and 40 microns to produce their plus 67% iron. And we're going at 75 microns and getting grades as high as 70% with very low grades, silica and alumina, phosphorus and sulfur. So a very attractive product. Putting all this together, in April of this year, we announced our maiden resource, some 195 million tonnes. Our target on listing was for 100 million tonnes. We did about an extra 1,000 metres of drilling, and that's given us almost double the resource that we planned. So we're very pleased with that. The other important note is that the Davis tube recovery is just on 40%. And that's an important number when looking at these magnetite projects, because what that tells you is you need 2.5 tonnes of feed material to get a tonne of high quality product. In this case, grading on average 68%. And within that resource area, we've got 75 million tonnes of that high grade concentrate material, which at today's prices of some $200 a tonne is $20 billion in revenue, just from that 75 million tonnes of concentrate. Also in that resource, there's just on 8 million tonnes of direct ship ore, and that's not including the high-grade outcrop that we see sitting on surface. So again, with the magnetic anomaly, the three drill zones, north, central and south, giving us those three components become the resource. There's a lot of black in between there, so there's a lot more space for drilling, therefore a lot more upside in the tonnes, well and truly above the 200 million we've already achieved, and certainly at depth as we drill to 300 metres and more. Also near Becky Soper, there are some other parcels of tenements within Akora. And we've just announced 2 weeks ago Satrikala, where we've done some rock chips. You can see that's about 40 kilometres south of Becky Soper, so it's closer to the port of Toliara and is looking quite promising. It's got a larger strike length, some 10 kilometres, and potentially could be another Becky Soper with considerable tonnage. So looking at these tenements, this is a closer view. You can see the different tenement packages that we have within Akora. They're all 100% owned. I just sort of like to build up on the Becky Soper story and how that might affect Satrikala and what we might expect to see there in the coming year as we do more geology and drilling. So Becky Soper was the starting point because of the extensive historical work that was done there and the widespread outcrop. The 119 rock chip samples that we collected graded 67% iron. Then we did the ground magnetic survey, saw the 6 kilometre anomaly. The drilling proved up just on 200 million tonnes of resource, with 8 million tonnes at least of DSO, direct ship ore, at a low production cost startup, and 75 million tonnes of high-grade concentrate. So at Satrikala, some 40 kilometres to the south, no exploration before the last few months when we've gone and did the rock chip work. The anomalies that are there are from a aeromagnetic survey that was done in 2006 by the Malagasy government. So we need to go and do a better survey of that to get a more defined, high-quality anomaly image. 66 rock chips graded just under 65% iron, so premium grade, potentially a 10-kilometre strike, so longer than we see at Becky Soper, and it's 40 kilometres closer to the port, which has to be attractive in terms of the capital opportunity. So all of those tenements there are showing magnetic anomalies and are all owned by Akora. So it's looking to be quite a significant region for iron ore going forward. Looking more closely at the rock chips, the image on your left-hand side shows the two tenements, the 102 rock chip samples of the red dots, and on the centre and right-hand side are some pictures of the countryside. It's very remote. There are a few little villages containing 100 or so people within 20 kilometres, 30 kilometres. It's flat to undulating, rather barren because of the iron. Nothing too much wants to grow there. And in some areas, a little bit of grassland. The rock chips here, we're grading 63% and 64%, and you can see where they've been collected from. And if we just look closely at the rock chips that graded better than 60%, because the benchmark grade for iron ore is 62%, that's what is mainly exported around the world. So looking at those better than 60%, which are the orange dots, which I hope you can see over there, they're over the full 10 kilometres of that strike. The red dots are plus 65% iron, the highest grade being 68. The countryside there, red, that sample was 68, so very high in iron. Even the termite mounds are red, which is telling you that there's iron below surface to several metres, because that's a good indication from the termites there, which is helpful. And the images at the bottom, you can see rocks on the ground, a bit of outcropping there, and 64.6% iron. So quite encouraging for another potential resource in the region of Becky Soper. Also, the other week, we announced that we've signed up Wardell Armstrong International to do our scoping studies. The time is right to do that now as we've got some definition of the resource and understand what's happening there in terms of the potential products. Wardell Armstrong is a significant engineering firm based in the UK with people right across Africa. They've got lots of experience in all of the areas of the studies that we need to help us understand the financial opportunities and potentially some issues, I guess, but really the financial numbers for Becky Soper. They have significant iron ore experience already in Africa, particularly on the West Coast, and with magnetite projects, and also across the world, particularly in Eastern Europe and elsewhere. They have expertise in Africa and are ready to commence work. And one of them is joining me next week when I go to Madagascar to do the transport logistics studies. So these are all the studies. This is the timeline. We'll start with the geology review, looking at the magnetic survey, the resource study, and then from that define the parameters for the mining and the metallurgy and the processing and the power requirements. The transport logistics, the port opportunity, what the logistics are like there, the whole infrastructure study. Initially for the DSO, so the trucking of the DSO to the port, and then for the very high grade plus 67% iron material. Then a financial study which will give us indicative capital and operating costs. And we'll report these findings between now and November this year. So the outlook, thank you. The outlook for Becky Soper, we see initially the opportunity to mine high-grade DSO from the outcropping area, but also from the weathered zone, where we're seeing grades 64, 63, 68 and 69%. It's almost pure magnetite iron ore, which is 72%. Selectively mine this material, produce high-grade lump and fines, and we know that DSO production is a low capital and a low operating cost to get into iron ore. But the future really is around the premium grade iron ore, 75 microns with some dry magnetic separation, where we're seeing, in this case, drill core averaging around 39 to 40%, upgrading to 70% iron, a super premium grade iron ore product, a concentrate at 75 microns, which is coarser than what's being produced today, and will be well and truly sought after as the iron and steel industry turns green. So we're very well placed to feed into that. So in summary, we've confirmed the resource just on 200 million tonnes. Satchel Kola is looking like a very promising Becky Soper lookalike. We've got WAI doing our scoping studies, and they'll be completed by November. And we'll also do some infill drilling at Becky Soper to better understand the high-grade direct ship ore. So thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. Now, just before our next presenter comes up, that code for the hearables that I was talking about is NUH, and that's nuheara.com.au. It's interesting. Now, Time Magazine listed them in the top 200 inventions in 2021. James Warren, how are you feeling, sir? Come on up here. Nice and ready for this? You need to keep us on our toes, on the edge of our seat, okay?
Yeah, no, I'll
So
try not
James,
to bore you to tears.
What was that?
I said I'll try not to bore you to tears.
Well, we don't want that. If you're going to do that, just sit down right now because we've got, okay. So James is the managing director. He is the managing director of Omnia Metals Group, Omnia is a mineral exploration company. They're focused on exploring future-facing commodities used in advanced technologies. They've got a main focus on nickel, copper, and also on platinum group elements. Would you please make him very welcome as he inspires us?
Be ready to be inspired, I suppose. All right, we'll just browse over this. So, look, I'm going to cut to the chase pretty quickly. Omnia is obviously in its infancy. We listed in February. It raised just over $4.5 million. So we're basically a shell with, we have a good but very early stage greenfields project. However, we're looking to probably make an acquisition in the next 12 months while we go about exploring this Ord Basin project. I'll talk to you a little bit predominantly about the Ord Basin project, which is quite exciting, but as I said, in its infancy. Corporate snapshot. We were having a bit of a chuckle about this last night. I'm not sure how you have a negative EV, but somehow we've done it. But we have $4 million in the bank, about $4.1 million in the bank. We're looking to spend a little bit, but in the meantime, reserve our cash reserves and make sure that when the opportunity comes, we can hit the bid on that project that's really going to be company changing for us. When you're investing at this end of the market, I suppose, you're investing in the people. So a lot of you might know Mr. Mark Connolly, our chairman. He's had an excellent history, firstly with Adamus and then Papillion, and more recently Akora Resources. So his deal-making capabilities are sort of well known. Myself, however, you probably don't know me from a bar of soap. I'm a geologist by background. I did my PhD at the Centre for Exploration Targeting at UWA in mineral systems targeting. So greenfields project generation is really my wheelhouse. I've had a little bit of success getting major companies to farm in on projects, firstly Northern Star, then Rio Tinto And more recently, Mineral Resources signed into a project we have with Akora Resources. So that's really my area of expertise, I suppose. Chris Zielinski is our lawyer, and Anna's the lady that actually gets everything done. So the Ord Basin project is about 140 km south of Kununurra. Access is actually fairly straightforward down the Duncan Highway. I guess the prospectivity of the area has been well known for a number of years, but the Kimberley and the Northern Territory particularly have probably been in the too hard basket. Why would you explore up there when you can go to the Eastern Goldfields and drill air core and add value that way? However, what we're seeing now is a generational change in the native title holders and the Aboriginal people who no longer see exploration as a threat to their culture, but more of an opportunity to, provide job opportunities and training and skills for some of their younger generation of people coming through. There's also been a lot of change in local government legislation and things like that, actually making it easier to negotiate heritage agreements and get access to the ground, whereas in the past it's actually been very difficult to achieve. It is a rapidly emerging district for the reasons that I just explained. IGO have over 8,300 square kilometres of tenure along the Halls Creek origin up there. Our land package is about 1,300 square kilometres, and we're in the process of tying up all the ground around it. Wyloo Metals is Twiggy Forest mob that peg the tenements on our east after we acquired this ground. And we have specifically targeted what we call the Negri Fault Corridor. There's no surprises that this northwest trending feature called the Negri Fault, where it hits the Halls Creek origin, that's where you find the Argyle Diamond Mine. And the Argyle Diamond Mine is the only known world-class deposit in the Halls Creek origin at this stage. So what that tells us is that Negri Fault is a major mantle tapping feature that's been active since the Paleo-Proterozoic era and up until the late Cambrian, which is when some of the mineralisation we're seeing has developed. As I discussed previously, nothing has really been done since '96, and we'll go into that in a little bit more detail. We're targeting two styles of mineralisation. The stratigraphic copper mineralisation, which has sort of been the focus of historical exploration. You go out there is a lot of malachite and copper sitting on surface. And then the other style of mineralisation is the Norilsk nickel copper PGE, which is the real blue sky sort of thinking. There was a PhD done in 2000 discussing the geochemistry and the depositional history of the basalts up there compared to Norilsk. Same age, same geochemistry, same tectonic events occurring, one in Russia, one in the northern WA. Again, talking about that project, it's actually very high prospectivity when GSWA and Geoscience Australia do these prospectivity maps. They obviously put in all the data that they can possibly find. The Antrim Plateau Volcanics is one of the largest continental flood basalt provinces in the world. And as I said, occurred at the same time as the Norilsk Siberian Traps magmatic event. So the junction is one of the prospects we have. This is the area we came up with it because it is the junction of this northwest trending Negri Fault Corridor and this northeast trending Osmond Valley inlier. Structural Geology 101 is when you have the intersection of major faults, that's when you will form mineralisation. That's the fluid pathways for mineralisation, for magmatic fluids, for everything. We believe that this is a very exciting area. I've been out there in the helicopter and we've picked up the intrusive doleritic rock types that are, we believe, are prospective for the Norilsk style nickel PGE. People are probably more familiar with the Chalice story. We're looking for the same sort of mineralised system. So our plan here, we'll go out and we'll do the gravity, we'll do electromagnetics, and then we'll drill. As I said, it's not the Eastern Goldfields. You could whittle away $4 million pretty easily out here. We're going to cut to the chase, spend the money on the best gravity and electromagnetic data we have, and then we're going to follow up immediately with the drill rig. The electromagnetics has been done on these electromagnetics lines are 20 kilometres apart. what we see is when they transect the Negri Fault Corridor, there are major deflections. This is the sort of area we hope to find these hidden nickel sulfide ore bodies at depth. We'll put in the work and make sure we fill in this regional data with high quality, high powered squid EM, and these, as we've seen, are direct targeting techniques nowadays. So the other style of mineralisation we're talking about is the stratigraphic copper. Up on the top there is the Michigan Copper Belt, which produced about 15.5 billion pounds of copper. On the bottom there is the Ord Basin. So you turn that upside down and stick it on there, and it looks, there's a lot of analogies. The model for mineralisation here is that during dewatering of the Ord Basin, you have, brine, copper-rich fluids that have been focused into the Negri Fault Corridor. Basically, you can see there's some fluid flow modelling that's been done. So this is the style of copper mineralisation we're observing. As I said, it's been known about for a long time, but no one's actually done the groundwork to follow this up. We went out there the other day and we get rock chip samples up to 19% in some cases. But we're looking for the source. Where are those sulfide ore bodies hidden at depth? We don't want the sufficient, smoke, I suppose. Well, they say obviously where there's smoke, there's generally fire. So we believe with a little bit of work and effort, we'll be able to unlock this copper story up there. Caves is the place I was talking about where you find this 20% copper at surface. It's down on the Northern Territory side of the tenement package. There was 7 percussion drill holes drilled back in the late 70s. They got 1.5 meters at 2% copper, but that's that sort of superficial stuff. As I said, with the gravity and the EM, we're going to target the good stuff at depth. The geochemistry, mostly stream sediment, mostly done a long time ago. These anomalies along the edge where the Wilo metals have picked up the ground, we're focused on that Negri Fault Corridor where there's been very little, if in sporadic work done. Basically, as I said, very early stage project, needs a bit of love. So that's the Ord Basin project in a snapshot, basically. As I said, we're gonna start doing the gravity and the EM next month. We've locked in a contractor to do that, and we're planning to do our maiden drilling program towards the end of next year. This year, I should say. Some of the timelines have been pushed out because of negotiating land access agreements and things like that, but that has been done, so we're all clear to go now. So if you'd like any further information, feel free to come by the booth and have a chat. Thank you.
Wait. You've got 5 minutes up your sleeve. Mr. Bibby here, he's sucked every single minute out of his fabulous talk, but you've got 5 minutes up your sleeve. Would you like to open yourself to the public here, or do you want the intimate conversation?
No, if anyone has questions.
Anyone got a question? Anyone? No, well, that just sorted that one out, didn't it? Oh, wait, Peter's got one. Peter's got one down the middle. You don't get away. Righto. You don't get away that early, Mr. Geologist.
Yeah, you mentioned similar geology to the Julimar discovery, but is that not on the edge of the Yilgarn block, yeah, which is a craton, which is a lot older?
Yeah, that's correct.
How old is the Russian stuff?
Russian's Cambrian, so a lot younger than Julimar.
Well,
Julimar's Archean.
It's a lot younger than Julimar, but quite a lot older. No, well, what's the age of the Kimberley country then? Yeah, that's Cambrian as well. So the age and the geochemistry are more similar to Russia, but it's a similar sort of mineralizing system, I suppose, an orthomagmatic intrusion-related system. Okay. But you can get different age deposits. Yep.
Thanks, Peter. I love a man that says orthomagmatic intrusion, whatever that was that you just said. Sounds very geologist related. Well done, sir. Thank you so much for coming along today and be part of it. Put your hands together, everyone, please. All right, Bradley Valukas, where are you? Bradley is the Managing Director of Aurumin. Can you follow that one up, sir? Yeah? I hope so. It's a gold exploration and development company. They've got 2 advanced regional programs out in WA. Bradley is a mining engineer, So we've had the metallurgist, we've had mining engineer. I think we've a few and far on the ground at this particular conference today. So you've got 25 years experience behind you. He's held positions in Australia and international with multiple commodities. But prior to founding Aurumin, Brad held the position of Manager Technical Services for a little company you may have heard about, Northern Star. So let's see if he's got a little money maker for us here today. Would you put your hands together, please, everyone, for Brad?
Thanks, Chrissy, and thanks everyone for being here late in the conference. So we're West Australian based, we're gold focused and exploration and development. And as Chrissy said, I'm a mining engineer. I'm keen to get into production and development. So that's what we look for in projects and our assets. Disclaimer for your evening reading. We're all about building a mining company. So we're a good board and management, combination of finance, geology, engineering, delivering on our growth ambitions. When I was here last time, we'd been listed for 6 months. We're now listed 18 months. We saw we had some good starter projects. I was very clear about that and said we're on the hunt for something where we could acquire and add value and would be complementary to what we already have. So at the start of this year, we completed on the acquisition of the assets at Sandstone. We brought 784,000 ounces into the fold, and I think still quite a bit of upside, and we'll talk through that. So with Sandstone, we have 2 advanced regional gold plays in WA, and the other being Southern Cross, our starting assets, and ongoing exploration and activity. So we're drilling right now, and we're spending money. So corporate snapshot, like everybody, we've been hammered a little bit at the moment, but market cap now less than $20 million, EV around $20 million. We took a little bit of debt on with the Sandstone acquisition. I think when we look at the amount of gold we have, it's pretty compelling value. And board and management, we speak for still a fairly decent size portion of the company, and we're well invested and very much want to see this succeed. ESG and sustainability, as we move towards development, we need to make sure we're on the right path. So we've got a pretty comprehensive heritage agreement that we're just about to sign and conclude to cover all of our Southern Cross assets. We support local where we can, both in Sandstone now and always have through Southern Cross. We've done a lot of work on rehabilitation, including tidying up from previous operators. So far, we had the time to do that at Southern Cross. We'll do the same at Sandstone, and I look very much forward to a low carbon development when we start. So our Sandstone operations, we call it operations, not project or exploration area. So it will be operations. So 849,000 ounces combined. For us, we picked that up. We got value for our Johnson Range asset with 65,000 ounces to the south. That comes straight into that. We've got that resource published from August last year. Existing permitted infrastructure there on site. There's a mill. It certainly needs some maintenance, but the footprint's there. There's built up ROM pads and a whole heap of other assets there as well. And we'll touch through those in a little bit more detail. And Sandstone is an awesome place. There's 2 areas in WA that stand out for a big consolidation play, and Sandstone is one of those. We're in an area there with 6 million ounces, 150 kilometres to the nearest process plant. Not our 6 million ounces, but us and around us, the 6 million ounces, and just explorers, no production. Like at some stage, Sandstone should be producing 200,000 ounces a year for 20 years. So our central Sandstone project, this block here, there's 20 square kilometres, which is not all that big, but it hosts that 784,000 ounces. There's 11 deposits there, and some of them are really key to what we're going to do going forward. Regionally through that footprint, surrounding tenements coming in, it's previously produced over 1 million ounces, and ongoing resource development for us. As I said, we're active on the ground. We've just completed a fairly large geochem program. So I said we've got 11 projects, 11 deposits already. There's 11 targets out of the geochem now that sit there, and most of them aligned to some sort of structural feature. It's amazing how little work has been done, despite the fact this is within 2-3 kilometres of an existing milling footprint, because when previous operators had it, they had the whole region all together. So much has been skipped over. So there's awesome upside just where we are right now. And it all goes towards building critical mass for production. More importantly than those little pits though, there's a decent sized resource sitting already up between the Shillington and the 2 Mile complex. We've started drilling there. There's 157,000 ounces in resource. There's certainly a connecting feature between the two. We've done some RC drilling there already. We're waiting for those assays to come back at the moment. And really importantly, underneath that, there's a 500,000 ounce resource that's been reported for underground. Now, at the moment, there's not much data in it, and it gets really, really white spaced as it goes down. Now, that's been reported as a very smeared out grade of 1.1 grams per tonne, which is nowhere near big enough. But keep in mind that this thing is 100 metres wide. So it's not like there's a shortage of gold, it's just a little bit of definition. So we've got 5 deep holes going in there at the moment, down about 600 metres below surface. And what we're trying to do is define the mineralisation controls there. So again, the fact that it's been there for so long, there's so few holes there, and there's half a dozen, there's almost as many papers written on this deposit as there is holes below sort of 200 metres to decide what goes on. And they're all got something different in them. So we've certainly got a process, a theory about what happened, about how that deposit was formed that we're working through. I think you see in the data at the moment, you see strong bias towards the contacts on both sides. So we're putting the holes right through nice and deep to test that. If we can convert this over to a 2 gram resource, 20, 30 metre wide stopes, we've got 1,350 ounces per vertical metre at the moment, which is more than enough to get going. We don't need to get more ounces, we just need to get a little bit more grade in there. So if we can convert most of that over at 2 grams plus, that justifies a restart of the entire project and is a key driver for us for the sandstone acquisition. We drilled the first hole through there. We've got 300 metres through the tone light. We had a huge number of visible gold occurrences there. Announcement a few weeks ago. I always like pictures of Fiji. Existing infrastructure, like I said, there's a 500,000 tonne per annum plant there. I'd love to be putting something in much, much bigger at some stage, but it is permitted, it has a heap of infrastructure around it, and there's still good parts of it to reuse. So no an upgrade path to 750, 800,000 tonnes per annum. We have 3 small camps all in the town of Sandstone, which is only sort of 5 kilometres away. There's a good airstrip there and things like that as well. And then on site, there's offices, the ROM pad's already built up, there's bore fields, there's access roads, there's all the things you would spend heaps of money on to get up and going. So all that infrastructure and the resources, $12 million, I thought was a pretty good start. We came with the conference last time, our starter assets are Southern Cross assets, and we've been working on those. We said we had 2 historical mining areas, Mount Dimer and Mount Palmer, both historical producers. Mount Dimer produced 125,000 ounces and Mount Palmer 158,000 ounces at 15.9 grams per tonne. So we've still got ongoing exploration activity happening down there. Gold, and there's some other commodities down there as well. There's a little bit of lithium around the Mount Palmer area. We've done a little bit of work. We haven't quite got it right so far, and certainly some iron ore up around Mount Dimer as well. I won't go into too many details, but we'll touch on those. So Mount Dimer, as I said, produced 125,000 ounces. That was at 6.5 grams from both open pit and underground. Very, very similar grades, discovered in the 80s, mined in the 90s, and nothing since that time. We've got 2 high grade deposits there ready to mine at the moment. We're starting to permit those in the background. We haven't released a resource for those yet. We're still trying to expand the total footprint there, but I'll put them on the screen in a moment. You'll see there's some pretty decent grades there, and certainly we can look to truck those as we go, and ongoing exploration. So Lightning, our best hole there during last year was 10 metres at 22, including metre 153. Drilled 8 at 15 as well in there. Only shallow to date. There's certainly underground potential here. Just trying to really build up those ounces in the top near surface environment first. Golden Slipper, our best result there at 7.5 out to the north, but some other really good results in there from historical 5 metres at 25 and things like that close to surface. So you can imagine when we go and extract those, if we don't build it up to what we'd like to for production on its own with a plant and all the other bits and pieces for Southern Cross, certainly we can take them somewhere else, and we've got good capacity to truck. T12. What we really focused on last year was new discovery. So we had some cracking results in and around those existing deposits, but we really wanted to try and expand the footprint. Our best result out of that was T12, so broad mineralisation, again, just below surface, so 2.5 grams, so really good open pit material, 8 metres at 2.5. Identified from systematic first pass work. So we did the geophysics, We did RC drilling across the lines. We had some specific targets. We went back and followed up. So we'll keep working through like that on the projects and expanding. We've got LO3 deposit there as well. There's certainly a good cutback to go there on top of what's some shallow underground workings, and there's pretty good grade left behind. Underground potential is certainly there. So this is what was mined before. So when we look at Lightning and Golden Slipper, we don't see anything different to this. Just a little bit short at the moment on ounces, and want to just put a couple more things together. And we also sit with Mount Dimer. We'll kick off in the second half of this year. We've been a little bit focused on sandstone in the first half, but there's some good iron ore potential there as well. What doesn't really stand out is in the middle of that footprint is the Carina iron ore mine that MinRes had. Some very similar geophysical signatures running through there in terms of demagnetized zones, etc., as well for the iron ore. So we're looking for some DSO. There's quite a bit of historic rock chip sampling. We'll be into that in the second half of this year, as well as around the mining area, taking a bit more of a regional approach. Our Mount Palmer project, last thing I'll touch on, look, really super sweet there. 300,000 tonnes came out at 15.9 grams, 158,000 ounces. We'd love to be able to replicate that. We haven't done it yet. We've done quite a bit of broad-spaced work, looking for some straight extensions and then up and down the corridor. We still need to keep working on that at the moment. Certainly prospective, we think we've got a better handle on what the mineralisation controls were. Fantastically located. We're just north of Navoria, at least 400,000 ounces now, and Yilgarn Star, greater than 1 million ounces is where that tenement package is. So we'll keep working on down there. A little bit of lithium targets down there as well. We had some really good geochem. We went and did some first pass orientation. Reasonably good in terms of pathfinder elements and tantalum and things like that, and niobium. But we didn't shoot the lights out on some straight lithium numbers, but we've got a lot of work to do there, still to go. So reasons to invest, good board and management. I've started up half a dozen operations and certainly fixed up half a dozen more. So we're really well positioned to pick something up that needs some love and take it forward. We've got a really good team with us already. And in fact, we're set up to do that. We're not straight going out to external consultants. We've got a heap of internal capacity. Delivering on our growth ambitions, said we were looking when we were here last year. We've done the first of those, and we continue to look for advanced projects where we think we can add value. 2 good gold projects right now, one of them in resource, one of them with clear grade there that will move along to that path, and news flow at the moment. We're active on the ground. Waiting on RC results. We've got the first diamond hole through with plenty of visible gold that we're fast tracking the assays through. At the moment, we've just finished our second hole and we're cutting that, and it's all go. Any further questions? Come and see us at the booth.
Do you want to ask a question now? This amazing man too is for 2 minutes up his sleeve. Anyone got a question for Brad? Question from the floor? All right, grab him on the way out. You won't stay long, will you? You've obviously given them so much to think of at this point in time. We have 2 presentations left to go, and the next one is Taruga Minerals. Now, a completely new incarnation for this company, and this month it's all go for the team. They're drilling copper and raw earth elements at sites in South Australia that have never been drilled before. It's a huge undertaking, and one that this fellow, their CEO, Thomas Lyon, thinks will result in new discoveries with big potential for them, for their investors, and for potential shareholders like yourselves. In fact, I have it on very good authority. I went searching last night that the South Australian government has pumped in 650,000 Ks to what you are doing. They're believing so much in the potential. So share it with us. We'd love to hear more. Would you please put your hands together, everyone, for Thomas Lyon and Taruga.
Sure. Thank you very much. Really nice to be here, guys. My first time presenting at the Gold Coast Investment Conference. Beautiful place for a conference, and hope to come back next year. So yeah, we're Taruga Minerals. We're exploring for copper and rare earth elements in South Australia. Our primary focus is copper. Just work this thing out. There we go. So there's a bit of a snapshot of the company. So we're currently about 12 million market cap. And just to give you a bit of a picture of how we've progressed since we first brought the South Australian projects into the company and basically rebirthed the company in 2020. Brought the first project, the Flinders project, into Taruga in 2020. We went from 1 cent to 8 cents without drilling a single hole in 3 months. We raised capital raised 4 million at 6 cents. In 2021, we completed our maiden drill program at Waiaka at the Mount Craig project. We released some high-grade sediment-hosted copper drill results from that first program. We went to 12 cents overnight and a 50 million market cap. And at the moment, we're sitting at about 2.1 cents and a 12 million market cap. And we're about to go into a drill program at Mount Craig project, testing a range of new copper and ionic adsorption clay style rare earth element targets that have never been drilled before. But we're also going to go back and apply what we've learned to drill sediment hosted copper targets at Waiaka and more rare earth element targets at Morgan's Creek, where we've already identified these things. And the reason I told you what happened, in 2020 and 2021 off the back of those drill results is just to explain to you how quickly things can turn around, overnight with exploration upside and how much potential there is in the blue sky these prospects we're about to go and drill. We've just spent 7 months going back to basics of the project, not doing any drilling. We did 13 kilometers of drilling last year. And so we're very, very active. We spent the last 6 or 7 months doing a full reprioritization review of the entire project. We developed 50 new targets. 12 of those are priority 1. We're on the ground right now getting a handful of those drill ready, and we're pretty excited to start drilling next month. So it should be a pretty action-packed couple of months. So I won't read through all this. I wouldn't ask you to read through all this, but this is just to let you guys know. You can read this in more detail later on. We're a very active company. We're a junior exploration company, but we're extremely focused on ESG. We're employing local Aboriginal people. We're engaging with local Aboriginal business. We've got full-time positions available right now for Adnyamathanha people who are the main native title group across our project area to join our team. And we engage contractors and services, hire equipment from local Aboriginal business. As our projects grow, we're going to expand on that. So we're already doing these things now. We're walking the walk. We're not just talking the talk. We've received a lot of funding from the South Australian government, 325 grand last year, $650,000 just announced last week from the South Australian government, 325,000 for rare earth exploration, 325,000 for copper exploration at the Mount Craig project. That shows that the Geological Survey of South Australia see the huge potential of our projects. They want to see us win, and we delivered on our last Accelerated Discovery Initiative program funded by the SA government last year. And so we're hoping to build on that with the upcoming program. And that has magnified and kind of really ramped up the exploration we're able to do in this next program, because that's a big bump to our exploration budget. So these are our South Australian projects, which is our core focus. We've got copper and rare earths. As I said, you can see a picture there that shows a map of where our projects sit. Now, the first project we brought into the company is Flinders project here. It's an IOCG project. And if you draw a straight line here through Olympic Dam, Oak Dam, Western Carrapateena, you land at the Flinders project and Torrens project. The only difference with our IOCG project is you've got high-grade IOCG style mineralization sitting at the surface. And we're excited to get back in there and drill some of those targets. It's the only project we know of in South Australia which has high-grade IOCG style mineralization at the surface. And most of these other projects out here are under 300 to 500 meters of cover. So it gives us an exceptional advantage of being able to make high-grade near-surface discoveries here. This is our Mount Craig copper project, which is about 30 k's away. We've got power and rail on the lease here, substations, rail line runs straight through the middle of these projects. We've got major ports at Port Augusta, Whyalla. There are public roads running through, big workforces, regional centres at Hawker and Craddock down here, and Port Augusta. So no problem with infrastructure, very easy to develop discoveries when they're made. Here's the Mount Craig project. So the reason the Mount Craig project is so exciting, I've been watching this ground for many years before I pegged it. And as soon as it became available, I jumped on it and I didn't sleep for about 3 days. My wife saw my eyes glaze over and knew that she wasn't going to be able to talk to me for a couple of days. I pegged this because it has the highest concentration of surface copper exposures in South Australia. And it has the exact same geology as the Central African Copper Belt, which produced the Kamoa-Kakula deposit, which is one of the world's best sediment-hosted copper deposits, 20 million tons of contained copper metal in that deposit. And also the Kipushi polymetallic deposit runs an average resource grade of 18% copper equivalent or 50% zinc equivalent. We've got the same style of rocks here. These rocks were in place in the exact same geological setting, intracontinental rift environment. We've got the diapiric breccias here. I won't go into what that is, but trust me, they're good. They're what Kamoa and Kipushi are both hosted in. This project has, I'm not sure how to go back there, but this project has potentially the largest, how do I go back? Red button? That's what I just hit. Yep. This project has potentially the largest diapiric breccia in the southern hemisphere exposed at the surface. It runs up the center of that major structure, and it's about 150 square kilometers in scale. And there's a lot of copper exposed at the surface there. Most of the historical explorers came in and they just drilled under the old mines. We did that at Waiaka and we hit high-grade copper, the highest grade hits that have ever been achieved there. But what we're doing now is applying much more sophisticated geophysics, and we're looking at these targets which are undercover here in the Western Plains area. This is where a lot of our new priority targets are. Never been identified before because they're under 2 to 20 meters of cover. No one's ever known they were there before, but we know they're there and we're about to go and drill those. So we're pretty excited to get in there. This is Morgan's Creek. It's down the south end of the Mount Craig project. We're exploring for copper here. We've hit rare earth elements. We've done some preliminary metallurgy on those rare earth elements. They're the clay-hosted style, and we found they've got a very high component of readily soluble rare earth elements. So that indicates a very simple metallurgical flow sheet, very cheap processing, and that's really what makes or breaks a rare earth element project. Now, the fact that we haven't actually intentionally looked for rare earth elements here is significant, because if you look at the drilling, we've only done sporadic reconnaissance style drilling looking for copper. We've never done any targeted rare earth element drilling there at all. So as we start, and the rare earths don't start and stop here, they're open in all directions. So we've got 100 square kilometers of plain of shallow cover on the western side of the project. And all of these rare earth element rich breccias, which are exposed here, are shedding off sediments into those plains. And we know the rocks that are under those plains are high in rare earths as well. So we see huge potential, not just for Morgan's Creek for targeted rare earth element drilling here, but for those large plains and depositional basins to host significant rare earth element deposits. And we'll be testing those in the upcoming drill program starting next month as well. This is Waiaka. This is the first sediment-hosted copper prospect that we drilled up at the north end of the Mount Craig project. A maiden drill program, we hit high-grade sediment-hosted copper. This is one of the, we did this under the last Accelerated Discovery Initiative with government funding, and we've learned a lot at this prospect over the last 6 or 7 months. We've just completed a super high-resolution ground magnetics with a new ground magnetic unit we bought, and we've done 25-meter spacing east-west, 25 north-south, producing an extremely high-resolution magnetic data set to highlight these structures, which we're quite confident are controlling mineralization. We know the ore there now is extremely dense. We've done petrophysics on it. It's unbelievably dense, and it's also subtly magnetic. These shapes here are all gravity anomalies. These are all high density, and we collected this data after our last round of drilling. And what you can see is it looks like we intentionally missed all the gravity anomalies. We've never drilled really one of these gravity anomalies. And part of the program when we come back here and do some drill testing is going to hit the magnetic and gravity anomalies and see if we can tap into this high-grade structurally hosted sediment-hosted copper over what is about a 10 to 15 square kilometre prospective area just at Waiaka alone. And then apply these learnings if discoveries are made to other prospects around Mount Craig, because the host shales here, the Tindalpina shale at Waiaka, actually strike for 58 kilometres on the project, and there's been 2 drill holes over that 58 kilometres outside of Waiaka historically. So complete untapped potential for us to go and take advantage of. Birthday Ridge is also at Waiaka. The reason I put this up here, we haven't done any drilling here yet. This is historical. Basically, it's a low-grade sediment-hosted copper discovery from the 60s with some follow-up drilling in 2006. But most of the holes started in mineralization, they ended in mineralization. So I wouldn't get too caught up on these grades. We're seeing some pretty good stuff. And because the holes ended in mineralization, we're looking at the magnetic anomalies here. We've just collected this data. No one had this before. What you can see is there's a correlation between the best intercepts, which ended in mineralization here, and magnetics. But basically, none of these magnetic anomalies have been drilled out. There hasn't been any systematic exploration here, no geophysics. We're waiting for native title agreement to be able to access this prospect and drill it as well. And it's going to be a priority once we get access there to go in and apply a systems mentality. There's over 2 kilometers of strike already defined there. And they've only drilled into the leach zone, haven't gone into the hypogene zone with any of this drilling. So I think there's a big upside potential there in going and doing some systematic drilling. So Flinders and Torrens project, I touched on this earlier. These are the ones that are closer to Olympic Dam in Carrapateena. These are on strike with Olympic Dam in Carrapateena. We've got the high-grade IOCG mineralization outcropping at the surface. You can see some of those rocks there. I've shown these rocks to IOCG miners in the Gawler Craton, and they've just taken one look and said, that's ore. That's the kind of ore we're pulling out of Olympic Dam and out of Carrapateena. That's what it looks like. Some of these specimens, they've got high-grade copper, gold, silver, and cobalt, and rare earth elements. They've got the exact signature you'd expect to see in an IOCG deposit. They're sitting at the surface. They're striking for over 15 kilometers, and we've got massive geophysical anomalies, magnetic and gravity. And that's what you hope to see with these IOCG bodies. They're very dense, they're magnetic. And we've got those anomalies over the project. They've had no drilling. and we're excited to be able to get back in there, hopefully. We're awaiting some heritage approvals to be able to regain access to the project. But we believe that if those approvals come through, there's a significant ability for a re-rating of the company simply off the back of having access to this project. And we're hoping that we're going to be able to get back there soon. We've also got some West Australian projects. Our core focus is in South Australia, but we've got some good exposure to nickel, copper, and PGEs in WA. And these projects are starting to grow in materiality. We've got a joint venture with Peak Minerals who are developing this. Green Rocks is their name for it, JV. Target B is the Taruga, on the Taruga ground there. They've just done some early air core drilling. They've identified what they hope to identify, ultramafic intrusions, and they've done some EM, and they've got a conductor down here, which has never been drilled. And at the moment, they're putting an RC diamond tail hole straight into this. So they've got stronger nickel anomalism up the top there. And we're hoping to see those results come in very soon. This is some of our other West Australian projects. We've got 3 exploration license applications here. One of them adjoins the Chalice and Venture Minerals JV, where Chalice are currently drilling out the Julimar lookalike. We're kind of, sitting and observing and seeing what happens with that drill program. We've identified mafic intrusions there. Some of them have chalcopyrite in them just at surface, so they certainly appear to be fertile. And we're progressing this Eastern permit, the Kingston permit, through application to approved at the moment. So it'll be quite exciting to see what comes out of that Chalice drilling of those EM anomalies. So just in summary, the take-home messages are, we're a discovery-focused company. We're a young, dynamic, ambitious team. We did a lot of drilling last year. We're quite aggressive when we start drilling. We're about to start drilling next month. We peg large systems. So we peg the entire system. If we make discoveries, we own everything. No one can come in and nibble at bits around the outside. We don't have to compete with people, or 50 people own a little piece of a strike of a major system. We own the whole systems. We've got very large land holding, over 3,000 square kilometres. We've got board members who founded Adriatic Metals, which is now a $400 million company, and they just drill and blasted their first cut of the high-grade polymetallic deposit last month. So we know how to take projects from 0 to 100. And we believe we've got the right ground. We've got government support, government funding. We've got a strong ESG focus. We're employing Aboriginal people. We're doing all the right stuff. We've got a fistful of brand new targets, big blue sky starting next month. We're going to start drill testing. And we hope to see you guys join us along for the ride. If you want to hear more, hit me up on LinkedIn or Twitter. You can DM me or message me, and I'll chat with you, or come and see us at the booth. We're up the back there. Taruga Minerals, thanks for listening.
I like that. By the way, so they're young and fabulous. I almost kicked him off the stage at that one. Do you know what Brad was going to be in an earlier life? Have a look at him. What do you reckon he was before he decided to be a geologist and dig things up? Environmental scientist. Isn't that a nice little juxtaposition? So you could deal with those certain noisy people that we've been seeing around the place. You'd be able to fit them straight in. Right, we have one last presentation to go today, and then I have the raffle and some other bits and pieces to give away. So we're finishing nice and early. And I did just put the word out to Stu about afternoon tea, because one of you did ask me about drinks. I said, no, God, we're not doing drinks. I said, that's not on. And Stu said, don't panic, I've got afternoon tea. So there is afternoon tea. You didn't have to do a Chrissy and eat furiously through the last 25 minutes or so. Right, our final presentation, and this comes to us today from a company who's been in the news just a little bit as of late, in fact, a lot. But if you're a regular here at the Gold Coast Investment Showcase, you will have been following this journey for the last few years. You possibly, put your hand up, may even have invested in a little old company called ResApp. Who's done that over the years? Yes. So we know this story, don't we? The best performing healthcare stock on the ASX this year. And in 2022, they've actually realised every Aussie healthcare company's dream, haven't they? They've been taken over, not yet taken over, they've been given an offer of a takeover by a big American company. Pfizer has offered them $150 million. So rounding out our conference and to talk us through the latest news from ResApp, would you please put your hands together and welcome co-founder and company MD, Tony Keating. Welcome, sir.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody. It's a pleasure to be back here again, here on the Gold Coast, which is in my local state. So today, we'd like to talk about ResApp, I mean, I'm sure there are some people in the room, I think, who haven't heard the ResApp story before. So I'll give a little bit of background into ResApp itself, but also talk about our COVID-19 programs, which was about a lot of the excitement that we saw earlier this year in the media, and also then talk about the Pfizer acquisition that we're currently going through. Standard disclaimer. So what do we do at ResApp? It's fairly straightforward to sort of explain. What we do at ResApp is we turn this smartphone that you all have in your pocket into a medical device. So we're able to use the microphone in a smartphone to record sounds, so cough sounds, sleeping sounds, snoring sounds, and connect those using artificial intelligence and machine learning to diseases. So just using a smartphone, we can diagnose pneumonia, we can diagnose asthma, we can diagnose sleep apnea, and we now have research programs showing that we can screen for and identify COVID just through the sound of somebody's cough. And so, as I said today, we'll really cover 3 areas. So the first area, I'll just cover the business, ResApp, what we do in particular with ResApp DX. I'll cover our COVID-19 programs, which have been the forefront of the company over the last few months. And then I'll cover the proposed acquisition by Pfizer. So ResApp's been around for a while. We spun out of the University of Queensland roughly 7 years ago. And the team here in Brisbane have basically become the world's leaders in audio-based diagnosis of health. And so what we do is we look for different signatures in sounds and diagnose different respiratory diseases. The crux, as I said before, was that sounds coming out of your lungs contain information about what's going on inside your lungs. And so because of that, we're able to pull out different things. We're able to pull out whether you have pneumonia, whether you have asthma, or whether you have COVID. To do this, we've spent 7 years now running through clinical trials, multiple clinical trials here in Australia and in the US. We've gone through regulatory approvals. We have CE mark in Europe as a class 2 medical device. We have TGA approval here in Australia. And now we're seeing this technology being used by multiple partners, multiple doctors globally. Big partnerships in Europe with companies such as Medgate, partnerships in Asia with companies such as AlloDoctor. So the technology is very well proven today. As I said, initial funding for this work was done at the University of Queensland, just up the road, by Professor Rudantha Abaratne. It was actually funded by the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. And what the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation were looking for was a low-cost way of diagnosing respiratory disease, or in particular pneumonia, in children in the developing world. And so Professor Abaratne came up with this idea of using cough sounds. And from there, we've taken that idea. And as you can see, many, many years of development through clinical trials. And then as you move closer and closer to today, more and more partnerships with commercial parties such as AlloDoctor, Doctors on Demand, Sanrai, partnerships with AstraZeneca, with Johnson & Johnson, as we've continued to develop this company forward. Stepping through respiratory health just very quickly, respiratory health is the most common reason for someone going and visiting a doctor. We've seen this during the pandemic, and it's interesting to look back at previous pandemics. The majority of pandemics are respiratory related. It's such an easy way for a virus to transmit from one person to the other. And so that's why you've seen things like Spanish flu, Asian flu, SARS, and now COVID-19. Respiratory is all about the lungs. It's all about the upper respiratory tract. It's all about the lower respiratory tract. And it's really the lower respiratory tract diseases that are the bad ones. They're the ones that really cause you to have to be treated. Things like pneumonia, COPD, fibrosis, tuberculosis. These are all diseases that affect the lungs in different ways, and they all have to be treated in different ways. So this is a very important clinical decision about what you have, what disease that you have. How do we do it? As I said, we use cough sound analysis, basically using AI machine learning to look for signatures in those cough sounds and then match those to different diseases. The beauty of it is that we can use that smartphone. So we can just use the microphone that's in an off-the-shelf smartphone, record your cough sounds, use real-time on-device analysis, and provide an instantaneous result. And so it's really as simple as coughing into your phone. We don't cough directly into your phone. You hold the phone about an arm's length away and off to the side. You cough 5 times, enter in a few details, and then we provide an instantaneous result then and there. Very fast, very accurate result. As I said, lots of clinical evidence, peer-reviewed publications, and regulatory approvals in Europe and Australia. We've seen this shift, and I probably showed a similar slide to this a number of years ago, and I think we've all seen the shift towards digital healthcare. We've seen the shift towards telehealth as well during the pandemic, where visiting your doctor via a telephone link or visiting your doctor via a Skype call or a Zoom call is now no longer unusual, and it's becoming more and more common. And so you're seeing this in the US, you're seeing this in the UK and Europe across the board. The problem with telehealth is you can imagine you're sitting, and you may have experienced it, you're sitting at the other end of a telephone line with a doctor. The first thing you do when you see a doctor in person, when you have a respiratory complaint, is they stick a stethoscope on you. They listen to your chest using a stethoscope. Obviously, you can't do that if you're remote, if you're over a telephone line. And so basically, there are no tools that can help doctors in telehealth make that decision and make that very important decision about whether you've got pneumonia or whether you've just got a common cold. And that has a significant way, or that is a significant decision point for clinicians about whether to give you antibiotics, whether to bring you into a hospital, whether to get a chest x-ray. And so we provide that ability. And this is really what ResApp DX does. So this is why we are now being used by leading telehealth providers in Europe and Asia and here in Australia. We provide that solution. We let doctors accurately remotely assess patients who present with respiratory symptoms. It's easy, it's convenient. 5 costs isn't hard to do. You don't have to get a piece of hardware, a remote stethoscope out to the field to every patient. It's then and there, it's instantaneous. And the way that we integrate it is very flexible. It's embedded in our telehealth providers' apps. So Medgate in Switzerland, we don't provide another app. There's not another app to download here. All we do is embed our technology inside a Medgate app. So we've been, as I said, the last few years has been really focused on the commercial side of things, building partnerships to drive adoption. That's our primary focus here right now. Our primary focus on ResApp DX is to get clinicians, get patients using this as much as possible. And so we've secured partnerships globally. From here in Australia, companies like Doctors on Demand, which provides telehealth services to major corporates such as Rio Tinto and Flight Centre, through to Medgate in Switzerland, through to the NHS just outside of London, through to Allo Doctor, one of the largest telehealth providers in the world in Indonesia, through to Alara Health and Sunrise, going back to those emerging markets and providing doctors in rural Kenya, in India, the opportunity to diagnose disease. And then we're also working with Big Pharma. We're working with Johnson & Johnson and AstraZeneca. So we're really out there getting this tool used by as many doctors and as many patients as we possibly can, because that's what drives the flywheel. That's why doctors use it. One doctor uses it because another doctor has used it and has a good experience. So switching gears a little bit, we all knew that COVID-19, or I guess none of us knew that COVID-19 was going to happen, but we all know that it had a significant effect on healthcare globally. I probably don't need to explain a lot of this, but I think we know that COVID had a major effect. And we also know that testing for COVID was uncomfortable. I'm sure nearly everyone in this room has either done a rapid antigen or a PCR test. Know that you have to, obviously for PCR, potentially line up in a queue before you could actually get that test done. They still stick a swab up your nose. And even at the peak of Omicron, it was very hard to get a PCR test, and it was very hard to even buy a rat test from the chemist. The other, just as a side, the other really interesting thing about COVID-19 is it's normalized us having tests at home. How often did we 5 years ago have a flu test sitting in the cupboard? I'm sure many of you in this room probably have a rapid antigen test sitting in the cupboard today. And so I think that's also a real benefit for ResApp, is that we've normalized home-based testing of disease. So when COVID hit, we looked at it and we thought, look, this is interesting. COVID is affecting the lungs. Could our technology identify COVID? And the real key to this came from some very early work that was done out of China when COVID started, and it was come from some CT scans. And so what China was doing, they couldn't get enough PCR tests. They couldn't get the PCR test throughput high enough. And so what they found was they could use CT scan to identify COVID. And so to us, that said, there is something going on here. There's something specific in the changes in the lungs caused by COVID that we could potentially pick up with cough sounds. Now, it took us a little bit of time. We had to try to get clinical studies running. We had to try to get data collected. And, in the middle of a pandemic, that's not easy, but we eventually got there. And we started to run data. So we started to collect data and start to build algorithms to identify COVID from cough sounds, all based on this early CT work. So we've run a couple of studies now. So the first study we ran, we released the results in March, and we got great sensitivity, 92% sensitivity. So this is identifying people who have COVID. We got 92% of those correct. So this is better than a rapid antigen test. Rapid antigen test is about 80%. In real life, it drops down to nearly 60%. And so, 92% is great. We recently ran a confirmatory study and performance dropped off here for sensitivity, which is a bit of a setback for us. But, there's still a significant amount of promise in this technology, and we still have, a way to go before, we would declare a success. Similarly with specificity, so we're lower specificity than the current projects. You can see in the confirmatory study, we dropped again. So more work to do. But I think, we're in a position where we believe that this cough sound really has a value to play here. We really strongly believe that cough sounds do contain a signature around COVID-19, but we do have some more work to do. If we can deliver it, there's lots of benefits. Unlimited, non-invasive, the lack of plastic in rapid antigen and PCR tests, significant benefits you can imagine of having a COVID test just on a smartphone. So as I said, more work to do, and this is where we're at today. So, there's a number of steps in the process that we have to go through today. We need to improve our algorithms. There's no question. While we believe that the science, we believe that there is a signature here, we need to improve these algorithms to get them up to a level that becomes commercially viable. We've got validation testing. We've got regulatory engagement with bodies like the TGA and the FDA. We've got prospective studies that we'll need to run to get the data for the TGA and the FDA. We've got submission and then sales and marketing. So while there's a big opportunity here, there's also a number of steps that we need to go. And I'm running out of time and I really need to cover this. So this really covers the Pfizer acquisition. Pfizer initially offered to acquire the company back in, I think it was April, beginning of April. And then since then, they have submitted a revised offer for the company at 14.6 cents. The reason for that revised offer at 14.6 cents is because we actually negotiated a two-tier offer. So there was a higher tier if we hit the levels that we needed to hit from that confirmatory study. And then the second study that we performed, the lower, or the second, if we didn't hit those levels, we had to go to a 14.6 level. And this basically just represented essentially what I was showing before, the additional work required that if those studies were not as good as the pilot, that Pfizer or ourselves or anybody would have to perform that additional work to get there. So that's why there was a difference. And that's why, 14.6 cents is in line with the draft experts requirements. And it's a significant offer above, premium above where the share price was before. So just very quickly to end up, what are the next steps? A scheme booklet, which discovers which essentially explains the deal, is due out in the early to mid-July. Shareholder vote scheduled in August. And I guess just in conclusion, we're really excited about the Pfizer opportunity. We think it provides great value for shareholders, a significant premium above where the company was before. It reflects the opportunity, but also reflects the risk. And the board are strongly recommending that shareholders vote in favour of the acquisition. Thank you.
Well done, Tony. You came in under your 15 and finished this off beautifully. Thank you so much for that. Would you put your hands together again, please, for Tony? And Brian is here in the audience as well. Well, team, that caps off a very interesting 2 days. I hope you have got some things there to go away and have a think about. I know a couple of you already invested in some things yesterday, which much to my disgust actually made you money overnight. So that was very interesting. For those of us who are in Sydney and put money into Austral and are laughing at the moment too, good on you. I wish, Andy, I was one of those. That would have been great. Now, we've got a prize to give away, the door prize, which is what you put all the tickets into out the front there. And that is for 2 nights accommodation at the Esplanade Hotel in Fremantle. That is in Western Australia. You will have to leave your state and you'll have to come to WA. We'll get you there one way or the other. So that's in February. It's for the RIU Explorers Conference. Now, all of our conferences that Vertical Events is running are listed on the back of the program here. So not only this year do you have all the fabulous, this particular conference, we've got the innovation where we've got the QR codes at the end there. So everyone you've seen present, you've got the QR code. So put your camera over that and you'll be able to take them to their website. On the back, you can plan where you're going to travel with us next for your next investment opportunity. So there's a fantastic one coming in down the southwest in October. Highly recommend that one. But this, of course, is our really big one, RIU Explorers Conference in February. We have the tickets here. You need to be in the room to get it. Peter, are you coming to Perth? Yeah. You are? Well, you can't take this out. Jackson, can you come and take this one out? If you're coming to Perth, you can't. You might actually. You haven't put a ticket in here. Oh God, Peter, I told you 5 times over the week. I told you 5. Okay, come on, pull it out. Oh, you want to say something?
How good of a job has Chrissy done first and foremost? She does an outstanding job. She, is so well liked by you all, but she's mostly extremely well liked by Stewie and myself. So we're really appreciative of everything that you do for us, because you go over and above and you do an outstanding job at getting you guys in and getting you involved and engaged. And what Chrissy was talking about in regards to this opportunity is that the RIU Explorers Conference, you would all probably heard of Diggers and Dealers maybe, but this conference now is 1,600 people, Perth only. So we've had, Perth locked away, doing our own little thing for a couple of years, just keeping the country ticking along financially. And so 1,600 people when it was West Australian only. Can you imagine how big this show is going to be in February when we're open to the whole country and the world? And in the next month, we'll put the program together. And right now we've got 170 companies, resources companies, who have lodged an application to be involved in the event. Stewie is desperately trying to work out where he can expand so we can take all 170 application forms, but we'll probably only be able to fit 100 of them. It's going to be a cracking show. Even if you don't win this prize, because only one of you is going to win it, we strongly, recommend having a beautiful holiday in the most spectacular city in the world, Perth, and then you can venture down to Fremantle for the show and see our beautiful beaches, and you can watch the sunset for a change over a beach.
It's very novel.
So here we go. We'll get Chrissy to draw it out because I'm sure you'd rather shake her hand.
He's coming up the back there. Anyway, Peter, did you want to put a thing in now? Did you want to put a thing in? Oh, you're digging it. Bloody put it in the back of your thing. Prue, put it in the back of here. Check the back now. There it is, right there, Peter. Hold on. Gee whiz. It's good you're bloody good at investing, isn't it? Come on. No, don't. If it's blank, we'll know you're the only person in the room that didn't put their name on it. It's okay. If you win, though, everyone else is going to do terrible things to you. All right. Oh, wait. Here we go. Jeff. The big fella's coming as well. How many have you got? You've just been stockpiling, have you, Jeffrey?
Yeah. Got a few chances.
Good on you, lad. All right. Anyone else? Last one's going to win. That's our $1. All right. Anyone? That's it. Stewie said, that's it. Cutting off. All right. Watch this space. Here we go. I'm just going to pick one up. All right. There we go. All right. What was that? Is it a complaint?
You have to be
good.
Here,
Well, you've already got the chocolates. Kay Alman. Kay Alman? Where?
Hey.
Oh, well done. Good on you, Kay. Are you going to take that fella that comes with you occasionally with you? Do you have to bring him?
Well, yes, he'd like to come.
And do you know what? Right next to where we're doing it in Freo, there's a fabulous pearl shop. It's all wonderful, great pearl shop.
Oh, is that Paspaley?
Yes, that's it. So she knows already. So you'll be making lots of money, you two, so you can go and spend it on another fabulous West Australian produce. Is there anything else you'd like to close off with? 47 companies.
Just one last thing before we allow you to leave. As you've noted on the program, which Andrea put this together this year, she's done an outstanding job. I just want to make the point that in September, we're running a New World Metals Roadshow. So it'll be companies in the EV, green energy, your nickel, lithium, copper, manganese, rare earths. And so roadshowing Sydney and Melbourne on the 20th in Sydney and the 22nd in Melbourne. Now, I know you're mostly probably rugby league fans, not AFL fans, but by coincidence, the Melbourne show is 2 days before the AFL grand final. So, if you want to come and watch Brisbane play in the grand final, which there's half a chance, come down to Melbourne, come and see all the nickel and lithium and rare earths. companies, and then enjoy watching Brisbane maybe play the Dockers in the grand final. So, and just before we finish up, the guys up the back who's setting the camera down, I think we all need to give Shane Webster a huge round of applause for the great work that he does. Well done, Shane. Well done, Jed. Jed was managing the live streaming, and not that it bothers you guys because you're all here watching the live presentations, but to Brian and Tony, who are still in the room, you'd be happy to know like 200 people are sitting somewhere in the world watching Tony's presentation just then. So
it's a good reminder too, because I know we've shut off the live stream at the moment, but for all of you as well, all of our presenters have given out their numbers and their contact